Well, good day. I'm John Thompson. I am the writer of Shut the Hell Up, Transforming Your Life by Changing Your Story. And the book that I have written is a faith-based guide, personal transformation through alignment with God's word and God's truth. I wrote this book to help readers overcome negative influences in their lives, both external and internal, by silencing the voices of fear, doubt, limiting beliefs, and replacing them with God's liberating truth. The life changing content of this book culminates with seven simple steps: recognizing, rejecting, and replacing lies, remembering God's promises, rehearsing the truth, renewing your mind, and receiving the freedom that is available in Christ. Today, I'm joined by Mr. Kevin Jones, one of the first readers of this book. Mr. Jones has been pivotal in my life as a writer and has been involved in every project that I have undertaken since I began obeying God's voice to document what he was saying in my heart. He has enjoyed an illustrious career as a senior executive in the federal government. However, if I would ask him, I'm sure he would just want to be known as Brother Kevin, faithful child of God. So please join me as we welcome one of my dearest first readers of the book, Shut the Hell Up, Mr. Kevin Jones. Well, welcome, Mr. Jones, Kevin Jones. Great to have you with us again. Uh, one of the early first readers of anything I've written, and you go back to when I was barely convinced that I was supposed to be writing. So you've been instrumental in all that. But we're here today to talk about this book, Shut the Hell Up. And I don't want to throttle you at all. I just really want the reader to hear your heart on on the book, on the subject, on the criticality of this message, on hearing from God, on the voices that we hear, whatever it is. I want to open it to you. What where would you start as we talk about Shut the Hell Up? Take us in there.
Well, where I would start with you for this is I I evaluate things oftentimes by not who the participants are, because I'm a participant in hopefully doing what God wills me to do anyway. But when other people bring their gifts and their talents and the life experiences that they can pour into me, I feel like we're all an interwoven collection of individuals who, if we have chosen the path of pleasing the Lord or attempting to, we all fit into a big tapestry that
Mm,
even we can't see. But the key for me now, it's like bunch of puzzle pieces, and you have been one of the puzzle pieces that have been culminating into where my life is going and the trajectory that I've been going on. So even before you knew you were a writer, and as your book explains, one thing that I was extremely taken by, didn't have the depth of understanding it the first time I read um, Shut the manuscript, the early manuscripts of Shut the Hell Up, but was the discussion about the voices. Because
yes.
there is, and every great story that's ever been written has a battle that's going on behind the scenes that people can,
Hmm.
they don't know why they resonate with the story, but they understand that this is truth that's wrapped in a wrapper, that it takes experience and life and living and observation of the way things go that gives us first the sense that things that we experience in this life aren't as they ought to be. And then the things that are, we can either for me, and I think for many other people, you try to put the reality that you experience into something that we call, for lack of a better term, into the truth.
Mhm.
Because I know intuitively, if there's a wrong, there's a right.
Mhm.
It's just simple. I mean,
Mhm.
you can't even recognize something. So when the earth was void and formless, and nobody to experience but the Lord Himself, if He hadn't said, "Let there be light," if there was anybody to experience the darkness without something to compare it to, you couldn't experience the light.
Absolutely.
So when the light enters into your reality and you're sitting in the darkness, you
Mm.
understand that if this light was declared good, God needed to create it. We needed to be able to experience the light, to be grow into and take the position as His creatures that He would want us to experience.
Mm.
It would be no discussion of if we only could live in dark and we never experience the light, as many people who live a life and they have crafted a reality that doesn't include God Himself, they don't know, number one, how much they're missing. So therefore, they can't be, they know something might not be right, but they can't compare it to what would be the better way. How
Absolutely
would be
not.
more important?
Absolutely not.
So in and I think everybody wants to live a life that is true to what they know. But in this case, and in things of God, oftentimes we live a life that's true, but it's a truth that we can't recognize or contextualize. We don't
Mm.
know what is true. So
Mm.
therefore, the things inside us, the battles in the heavenlies where we can't be, become the guiding things of our life and the influences that we encounter. We don't know where these urges or this discontent is coming from. We
Right.
couldn't even tell you that we're being driven by forces outside of ourselves if we don't have
Mm.
something beside ourselves to judge it by.
Absolutely.
So first we have to understand that there is a God that exists and a God that we can know and we can have a relationship with.
Mhm.
But until we can have a context into which we can insert ourselves and know how things ought to be, and we can only know what ought to be by revelation, not by learning.
Mm.
So we are sentient beings, and we have been given the gift from God when He created us in His image, not with the powers that He has, not with the omniscience that He has, not with the power that He has, but with ability to create and an ability to improve circumstances. When He placed Adam in the garden, it was lush and it was perfect and everything was there. But He said it's important that this man has work to do because I'm created a
Yes.
universe that I want to be in relationship with that man, and I can't be in relationship with him unless he can feel intrinsically that he's carrying out his destiny and he's growing into the fullness of what he was created to be.
Yes.
He didn't create us to go, and that's why as I approach even my own retirement now, I don't look forward to resting and I don't look forward to sitting on the golf course and I don't look forward to things that don't challenge my mind and my senses and my talents any longer. But I look forward into transitioning into a different state where I can apply those things that God has given me in a different way than I've done for a living right up to now.
Mhm.
And I have to, so I'm getting a whole new thing of skills that I can look forward to because I'm going to have to build a way where I can be productive and not be having my world guided by the necessity of leaving and going to work and meeting the demands of people and other things, even them well-meaning, that are not going to last. So the transitioning of my occupation, which has now turned into my which became my vocation, which now becomes my vacation. It's not the vacation of sitting around. It's the vacation of growing into the next phase that will prepare me for the final phase that I look forward to into living in eternity in relationship with the God that I was distant from when I didn't wasn't had didn't have the capacity to know what he was doing in my life and what I was created for,
mm,
and whether or not he could see me one day and say, "Well done, good and faithful servant." Because if I didn't have a vision, I could be wandering around doing all kinds of stuff.
absolutely.
And most of the stuff that I experience in the story that has been become my life, some of the stuff I cringe at because nobody knows like Kevin Jones how much of my time was not captured for God's purposes.
Yes, that's right.
So it's been a challenge for me to learn all that. But nevertheless, the in your book, when I got it, your book is an important part of my life, which came even before you were considered yourself to be a writer. Shortly after you became a pastor by design, shortly after after you were a full-blown atheist who didn't even have God in your equation either, but somehow he hooked us up in his omniscience, and we have been traveling for a number of years now, like frick and frack on a big adventure.
Exactly.
And we've been
Like Frodo Baggins.
and I grow into things just like the Marcel Proust thing that I had one of the markers in my life. The
Hmm.
real journey is not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes because I was blind to what I could not see. Amazing
Yes,
grace.
that's right.
And so he's worked all that thing. And when I look at all the signposts and all the artifacts that I look back on my life, I was hearing voices, but I didn't have a box to put that voice in.
Mm.
It was happenstance. It was kismet. It was just a great luck. But
Yeah.
it wasn't that at all because now I have grown to the point where I can wake up in the morning and open my eyes and say, this is too marvelous to describe as something that happened by accident because I'm witness to things where the chance was so minuscule that they could have ever happened by design.
Absolutely.
And as I'm living it, nobody could have designed what my story was going to become because I'm not the only person in my story. There are people that were put in my path and circumstances that challenged me beyond what I thought I could bear,
Mm.
that were put there by someone else, someone, not something, not
Hmm.
happenstance, not luck, not
Hmm.
accidental. And so when I got your book, this book is so important to me, and I think it's so important to everyone else because it has flipped the switch. So now when I survey my life and my experiences, I can put in context, just like a guy who was a mole underground living in total darkness, who found a little hole in the soil, and all of a sudden he sees a little glimmer of light come in, and that light has grown with each passing year of my experience in my life, to which I can't exist in darkness anymore.
Mm.
And now when I know where to put the things, and then I can give glory to the one, only one to whom glory is due. And I
Mm-mm-mm.
know those voices, and I was his one of his sheep before, but now I know his voice and I know what he looks like. And there are too many things that I have seen that I would be a liar if I ever said this can't be true or this was luck. And that was a description that I got from the voices. And I got it at not only did I get it now through the confluence of events, through bumping into great people who have poured into my life like you, but because now I can't deny that that is fact and that is not, it couldn't happen by design
Mm.
because I didn't go looking for this from the beginning.
Yes, sir.
And I was one too, in my own ways, who didn't have room in my rationality for this to fit.
Right.
And that gives me hope to understand that someone has been talking to me all of my life.
Mm.
And now, only now, I'm growing to be able to hear his voice. I
Mm.
always prayed, and as James would accuse me of, if he was still around, to say, you pray, but you don't get because you ask amiss. And I was
Mm.
asking amiss. But I knew, and I was shaped over time through my long association with you to want what you have. You were like the Peter and the apostles for me when I'm walking down the street, because when you would say, God told me, I didn't know anything, but I knew enough to know, having been raised a Catholic, changed into an evangelical, that this is the relationship that I want because I can't believe anymore, and my past beliefs can't fit my reality because I have too many experiences in my life where what the world might have meant for evil, God meant for good. And against all odds, I can say I was headed this way, but God.
My Lord, my Lord, my Lord.
And so when I look at all my heroes, I go back to things that are just totally coincidental. My confirmation name when I was just a Catholic, and I had priests and people feeding into my life and reading me stuff that they couldn't really explain. They couldn't share experiences with me. But I was in sixth grade, I think, and I chose Paul as my confirmation name. And then I fast forward and I found myself riding in a carpool with ladies who insisted that I listen to WRBS and hear Walk with the King today and be a blessing. And I'm sitting there saying, oh my goodness gracious, good thing I got to get to work because I can't buy this stuff. You don't believe in this Adam and Eve stuff, do you? Because I was too smart for myself. And what I've come to understand is the reason I rejected it is because I wanted a God that I could control. And I wanted a God that I could put in my pocket. And I wanted a God that I didn't have to submit to so I could get my way. And he wouldn't have it that way. So he persisted with me while I'm going through Taoism and all this other stuff, thinking, oh, well, it's easier to follow the force because the force doesn't do anything. But then I started thinking, well, how can the force care whether I'm successful or I'm a hero? Because it doesn't matter if I'm evil. I could be a Sith Lord for all the force doesn't care.
No,
We all got lightsabers. Let's go set them up. But when I met the God who says, no, I want you to love me, but I'm giving you the choice.
yes.
And you can go do your thing and you can accept me or not. But I felt like the rich young ruler who says, well, it's pretty steep price for me. I can't handle it. He loved me enough to let me go and fool around with Taoism and all these other Eastern religions and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But he showed me a better way. And then coincidentally, I found this Operation Timothy group with a bunch of good Christians when I'm believing in word of faith and all that stuff. Because
Hmm.
when I came over to Christianity in the evangelical world, I, I, I just thought, well, okay, I can get close to this religion, but I can only get to it if I can just say the right prayers and then God's going to owe me.
Right, right, right.
But then I had bumped into these guys who were pointing me to people like Charles Stanley and
Mm,
Chuck Swindoll and all these other
yeah.
people. And I thought it was that coincidence? I think not.
Mm-mm. Nope.
Because
Nope.
from the beginning, he knew that Kevin Jones was going to have to be sent to the bone pile as not to get transferred to OPM. And he was going to take this little ragtag 27 people group and turn it into a now worldwide operation. And
Yes.
I had the nursery rhyme wrong. I knew the nursery rhyme. I mean, Humpty Dumpty, had a great fall, and all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty together again. But what that nursery rhyme doesn't say, all the king's horses can't do it, all the king's men can't do it, but God can do anything.
Mm,
So guess who came back? The personnel security, and I'm back
yeah.
in this little thing that they were trying to get rid of us. And the more they took, the more I grew. And the more challenge it became, the easier my job became to the point where I went to my pastor and prayed with him about, I don't think I can do this job. He
Right.
just led me to some good books and prayed with me. And next thing I know, it's the easiest job I ever had in my life.
Mm,
But I was the one giving the testimony, like Pharaoh saying, well, I can't do this. And
right.
fortunately for me, the God of grace didn't say, well, as you say, let that become. Like when they said, what plague is going to be next? Okay, all the firstborn of every family is good. I was creating my own curses.
Mm,
but I had the sense that these voices, and when you wrote your book, it put all that stuff back into the right place where I can go and I can leave this agency in a couple months and know how it all fit together. You didn't write this book for me or any one person. You didn't, all you were just doing is fulfilling your call. But the Lord from his watchtower was making all these movements up there like the Grand Master, making sure that the right people ran into my life and he knew just how much he could press me without breaking me. And he did it. So now I am without excuse, and I'm eternally grateful not only for your book, but the understanding. In all you're getting, it says, we want to get understanding. We can't do anything without it. So I see the world completely different now. I live every day. I can think of the voices I used to always tell you. I think. Um, Well, dreaming up the schemes that we have and the plans that we have, not for my own sake anymore, or even yours, but finding out how I can be helpful to the cause of bringing people to the knowledge of the Lord. And I said, well,
Yes,
what really appealed to me was when I go into, I can't read anything that you write without hearing your voice. I was saying that stuff before you were telling me where do these voices come from.
right.
So I can't even read what you write without hearing John Thompson, my friend. And somebody else could read it, but it wouldn't sound right to me because I know what you sound like.
Yes, exactly. Oh, I love it.
So the book has come true for me. It's indispensable book. But I sent you the thing this past I think this week sometime by
Hmm.
this guy
Hmm.
who's the lawyer, and
Yeah,
he is dedicated to showing what's going on behind the scenes because a whole lot is going on in this world that we don't attribute to the battle between good and evil, God and
no,
those who are against God, and it makes
absolutely.
so much sense. So as above, so below.
Mm-mm-mm. I love it. I love it.
That's the easiest fluff question I could ever bring up because this book is the key that picks the lock. If you want to understand what's going on in this world, it takes knowing who God is, what he's about, how he functions, and that he is always with you. And more so for me is learning to listen for him. Now I don't need anybody to tell me that worrying is a waste of time because he's taken such great care of me and he's planned my steps and he's guided my path and he's opened up worlds that I didn't think it could exist. And I know that my next journey beyond retirement is seeking to be where I have striven all my life without knowing it to get back to, and that is being in his presence for eternity. I couldn't imagine another way. But if you want to know how this world works on this terrestrial ball that we think, everything that we see, and we believe everything that we think, and you know that your experience tells you this can't be what ought to be, you need to get this book because then you can understand how things really work and how things ought to work and are working and you get a better sense of the world is not uncontrolled under free fall, but it nothing escapes the care and the superintendence of God. It's easy to read that he cares for sparrows and trees, and then when anyone falls out of the tree, he cares for them. And it's easy to read. Why do you worry about what you're going to wear when any all the flowers of the field are arrayed in garments and colors and beauty and infinite display beyond anything that we could create or even imagine? Um, and and just knowing that and understanding how it works and that there's a plan for the our lives. And it's not about knowing anything. I don't seek anymore to get benefit from knowing God or could because he can do more than I can even ask for him to do. Oftentimes I can't ask rightly, as James says, because I don't understand him deeply enough, but I'm never surprised, and I know that he is capable. So the book has, for me, brought to life an understanding of not only how he works, but that he is infinite capable because I know what he's done in my life. And for me to even say that I could do anything without him would be just a flat out lie. So this book is transformational. It was the icing on the cake that I needed to understand. I'm not new to Christianity, and but you, there's a difference between knowing and saying that you know, because when it happens on a personal basis, and everything with God is completely designed for whoever is reading and whoever wants to engage him, he will not turn away any. If the Bible clearly points out that if you need to get understanding, why do we fool around going to other sources? Nobody knows the world like he does. Nobody knows the design. And for those people who think that they're really scientific, that discussion of the voices, we are not the only beings that exist because beings have existed in the heavenlies before man ever touched or walked the face of the earth. So I can't say enough good things about the earth or about the book because I didn't know how much I would be changed by it. And from C.S. Lewis to John Thompson, there are many things that I learned. And the way I judge a good book is every time I read it, no matter when I read it or reread it, this is a book that I'm going to live with and think this is something that you can plumb the depths of until you can't read anymore, you can't see anymore. And this book is now written in my life, not just in my mind, in my memory, and in the facts that I know. And it's just a pleasure to have it in my library.
Praise God.